The Biden White House is having some trouble with communication, and going into an election year, communicating what is going right is very important, and they're not doing it very well at all, and they haven't for quite a while. They've been trying to tell Americans that their lives are improving, that they're better off under Bidenomics, and that's what they're calling it. And which is, it worked for Ronald Reagan. Reaganomics works, and Bidenomics is clicking with some people. But what the White House is doing is talking about the fact that it's actually true. There are several metrics that are now suggesting that the economy is improving and doing, in some places, actually really well. But polling has shown the American people are dissatisfied with the state of the economy. We've talked about it. When I'm out on the road talking to Trump voters, all they talk about is the price of gas. So to a lot of people, that is the economy. It has nothing to do with the CPI and the rate of inflation dropping by 0.25%. It's how much are a dozen eggs, and how much is my gas to fill my tank. And so Dana Bash was talking on television. We remember her from a Mike Pence story. She was talking to the former Speaker and current Representative Nancy Pelosi to talk about what is going on and why there is this problem.
A Quinnipiac poll this week found nearly 6 in 10 Americans still disapprove of his handling of the economy. Why is that, and what does he have to do to turn that around?
Well, a lot of it's about messaging, of course. I'm so proud of this president. In the 2 years that we were in the majority working with him, he broke all records. On the level with a Lyndon Johnson or a Franklin Roosevelt in terms of the caliber of legislation that he passed for the good of the people, lowering prescription drugs, again, cutting in half, as you indicate, cutting in half unemployment.
So why isn't the American public giving credit for million
jobs? It has to be messaged. It just has to get out there. It's a busy job being president. I can say that as being speaker. You're doing your work, but he's just going to have to make sure the American people know at that kitchen table what this means to them.
Cenk, I mean, the Speaker did a better job at messaging than the president is doing now. Busy job or not, it's important that White Houses get their message out. And there is, and we'll talk about it in just a moment, but there is a real reason for the president to be talking about this and for his White House to be talking about it. Here's what there is to start. The best job creation record at this point in a presidency since either Franklin Roosevelt by raw numbers or Ronald Reagan in his first term by percentage growth. Unemployment steadily below 4%, inflation falling, and real wage growth turning positive. The president has a lot to boast about, but he's not really getting that done, is he?
No, he isn't. So I think there's two different issues here. So number one, his economic record, in my opinion, is mixed. So what should you give him credit for? All the numbers that Michael just gave you are real, and the president doesn't magically create those numbers, but he does shepherd the economy. And when things go south, he takes all the blame. And so when things are doing well, he should definitely receive some significant portion of credit. So it's hard to keep both unemployment and inflation low. And now unemployment is at a record low and inflation has been brought all the way down to 3%. So if you don't give him kudos for that, what do you give him kudos for? And by the way, the Republicans with numbers that were not as good for Donald Trump thought they were the greatest numbers in the history of the world and proved that Donald Trump should be reelected as president. So, well, if that's true, then I guess Biden should be reelected in a landslide. So the second thing that Republicans are disingenuous about is gas prices. Now, in the beginning, I understand they were real, the gas prices went up and they wanted to blame the guy who was in charge, plus they don't like him anyway. But now, inflation has come down and they're still saying the same thing. Why? Because they hate Biden. Come on, keep it real. I mean, Brian Unger was on one of our programs, Old School. He's now moved to Georgia, and he was talking about how some real estate agent there was talking about how prices for houses have dropped by 200% in Georgia because of Biden. Dropped 200% because of Biden. That doesn't make any sense at all. It's not even trying to make sense, right? So is there a healthy percentage of this where people go, I just don't like Biden, he's not Trump, I hate him? Okay, yes, there is. Now, why do I say the economy is mixed? Because, and his record on it fixed, because there are things that the president can do, like pass legislation. And he didn't pass almost any of the economic pieces of legislation that he promised. $15 minimum wage, people's wages would have gone up. They would have felt that. In the beginning, he did pass some that were great, like child tax credit. And guess what? When he did, and that was part of the big COVID relief bill plan, that's when his numbers were the highest by far, by far. They were about 15 points higher than they are today, maybe even more. So when you do things that help people economically, your numbers go up. When you stop doing them, they go down. You shouldn't be overall too surprised by that. And they keep bragging about all these bills. She says FDR and LBJ, that is insanity, not even close. I think he passed about 15% of his agenda, and some of it were good things, and the one I always use is the semiconductor bill. I mean, the semiconductor industry does need help in this country. He didn't put any guardrails in, he was just a giant giveaway to corporations, but it doesn't matter what you think of the substance of it. What matters is, does that help a lot of Americans? No. A lot of the semiconductor companies in America fired their workers afterwards anyway because he didn't put any protections in. So the American people felt that 0%. So going around bragging about how he did a semiconductor bill is tone deaf, and oftentimes they do that either specifically or in this nonsense made up thing that Biden is FDR, right? Because he passed a semiconductor bill and a couple of others that mainly help corporations. But Michael, finally, on the messaging side, that one is less complicated and less mixed. It's an absolute disaster. And in fact, I want to show you a clip of Nancy Pelosi, or several clips of Nancy Pelosi, to give you a sense of why it's a disaster, among the many reasons why it's a disaster, and then we'll break that down. But let's watch.
I want the Republican Party to take back the party. Here I am, Nancy Pelosi, saying this country needs a strong Republican Party, and we do. I've also said that country needs a strong Republican Party. They've made great contributions to our country. I say this to Republicans all the time. Take back your party. And I say to my Republican friends, take back your party. The country needs a big, strong Republican Party. I keep saying, take back your party, Joe, to Republicans. Take back your party. This is a grand old party.
Yeah, so when you're constantly telling people how awesome the other side is, you might have a messaging problem. Do the Republicans ever make that mistake? Never, ever, 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 ever. They constantly are saying, oh, it's Marxist, fascist, groomers, satanic, terrible, everything they touch is a disaster. They ruined the country, it's totally destroyed. They're the worst, most evil, terrible people in the world. And Pelosi and Biden come on, my Republican friends, oh, you guys are such a great party. Take it back to what it was when we helped the rich together. I mean, I love Republicans. Republicans are so good. Gee, I wonder why one side has an messaging advantage and the other side doesn't.
I actually think that was strong messaging by Pelosi, and I don't think that she and Biden do it in the same way. I think absolutely, Cenk, that it was total mocking of the Republicans by what Pelosi did. And for a president and a speaker to do things are two very different models. And the president, part of messaging is messaging why things aren't working as much as it is why things are working. What Joe Biden didn't do with Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, when he knew there was no hope, when his advisors were telling him there was no hope, to not villainize them and publicly go after them and soft shoe it with them. That to me is as bad as only talking about semiconductors when you can talk about how hard you've tried on other issues and the successes you've had with unemployment and interest rates and infrastructure and things like that. So I really do think that they're very different. And what I see Pelosi doing is what a speaker does. And it's totally different, and it's mocking the other side. And I think mocking the other side is something that she did quite well when she was speaker. But I think it's very, very different messaging.
Yeah, no, I, as usual, totally disagree.
I disagreed with you first.
Yeah, okay, fair. So look, guys, messaging is a blunt instrument. And if it's done right, you think, wait, no, all the sophisticated people say you should do nuanced messaging. No, I believe in nuance. I certainly believe in nuance in policy. But nuance in messaging is often not a great idea. So,
but it's not nuanced, Cenk. I mean, Joe Biden gives so much acreage to Republicans. He is so deferential. Nancy Pelosi was never deferential to Republicans. She was mocking of them, and she was talking about how they are sheep and they're being led, and they're essentially, without saying cult members, she said cult members. So I don't see it the same way you do it at all. And it's not just a defense of Pelosi, it's a defense of the fact it's really what's frustrating about Biden more than it's what's to be, in my estimation, sort of looked at as a positive from the former speaker. But it's what Biden is lacking is the ability to go after. Now, you can't as a president do what you can as a speaker, but he does not go after the causes of why things don't work.
Nancy Pelosi's subtlety is completely lost on the overwhelming majority of people when she's like, oh, my Republican friends, they should get better. And I like them so much, but they should be slightly better, okay?
She's into the caucus. She's trying to embarrass the caucus.
That's not, nobody's embarrassed by that. No one is embarrassed by that.
Well,
no, look, Michael, here, let me give you an example.
Clearly Republicans have no shame anymore.
That's why trying to appeal to their shame is absurd. No, you're trying to.
And the Republican caucus in the House when she was speaker really had no shame, and now they have a little less than they did then. So I'm sorry, I don't think that.
No.
Yes,
no, look,
yes,
no, Michael.
Yes.
It doesn't. Who gives a goddamn about the Republicans? This is a giant. Hold on, let me finish. Hold on, let me finish. Let me finish.
These don't matter like White House messaging matters. These don't. What Nancy Pelosi says on 5 different, with the same talking point on 5 different panels or talk shows doesn't matter. What Joe Biden doesn't do is what matters.
Okay.
And what Joe Biden does to Republicans is far worse than what Nancy Pelosi does.
I hear you on that. I hear you on that. Listen, Michael, winning elections has 0% to do with Republican voters, okay? The Republican voters are gone. They're gone. They're not gonna come back and be like, well, I thought that the Democrats were satanic child molesters who were drinking the blood of children, but I reconsidered and think they're lovely human beings. Okay, so yeah, maybe you get a 5%, 7% if you're super lucky around the edges. No, the way to win elections is independence. There are now more independents than there are Democrats or Republicans. Our politics has completely changed. And what do you do with independents? You want them to come to your side and you want the other side to be supernova toxic, right? Good news, they are, right?
And by talking about Republicans as being, where are the Republicans? We need good Republicans, we don't have them. Don't go there, come with us. I mean, that's what's implicit.
It's super subtle, no one gets it. No one gets it. Only it's a message for the elites.
You're right, it's super subtle, but it also doesn't infer.
Super subtle doesn't work. That's what I'm trying to tell you, Michael. Super subtle doesn't work.
It's a talking point. It's not
dumb.
To manage the work of an administration going into a presidential election year. It's 2 totally different things. Okay. She's the Speaker of the House speaking to her caucus, probably ahead of 2018, probably ahead of, or it was 2018, I guess.
No, Michael, let's drop Pelosi. We disagree on Pelosi. I think she's incredibly weak. I think she's a terrible legislator. I think she's a terrible representative of Democrats. We massively disagree, okay? You think she's great. It's indefensible in my opinion. But that's not what we're talking about, okay? The main thing is Democrats overall, and certainly Joe Biden, and remember about the economy, do they suck on messaging? We both agree on that. So, but let me just say this, okay? If I was advising the president, I know Biden doesn't have it in him because he's a goddamn marshmallow, right? But if we had an actual person with a spine as our leader on the Democratic side, here's what I would advise him to do. Every day, do a press conference and go, inflation is incredibly low now. You're welcome. You know what? Unemployment record. How many times do I set a record on unemployment? I said it yesterday, I said it today, I said it the day before, I said it the week before, I said it the month before, until all of Fox News is crying, oh, Biden keeps bragging about low unemployment. Go, Biden's such a braggart. I can't believe he's bragging so much about how he broke the record on unemployment every single day. Force them to engage on your high ground. These morons who are the Democratic leadership don't know anything about messaging. Don't know anything. They don't even know they're supposed to do messaging. They're so unbelievably stupid.
We said we're staying away from the whole idea of the Democratic leadership, but so let's stay away from that. This is about the White House. This is about having what has been come to be known as the bully pulpit, and not using it for any bully or really any pulpit, right? I mean, he hasn't done exactly what you're saying he should have done, and what any president should do, which is to go out there and repeat it the way we talked about this in the production meeting today, with Ronald Reagan and Bill Clinton used it for that. Barack Obama did it. George W. Bush did it occasionally. But to be able to talk about the accomplishments you've had and say it every day, say it repetitively, that's messaging. To have surrogates out there saying it, not just your vice president, but constantly have people on these shows and on the hustings saying these things. It's what is absent in this White House. And it's a shame because some things are not going to be as good by the time there's an election. So while you have the advantage, you have to play the advantage.
Boom, we end on agreement. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.